All right. So I'm well aware that Houston is not a tech city, but let me list off a few tech cities that I'm well aware have good opportunities: San Francisco, New York, Austin, Texas, Miami, Boston, Seattle. I think I've named a good amount. And outside of maybe Austin, I don't really see myself living in those other cities. I personally enjoy living in Houston. I like being around other black founders and entrepreneurs. I really appreciate the Southern hospitality, the culture down there. Um, oh, it's okay. I really appreciate all of the culture down there in Houston. And it's not that I didn't appreciate the culture in Miami, because we'll get into that soon. But when I lived here for 9 years, I could absolutely say that I didn't feel that black female founders were really supported here, number one, especially in the tech scene. Number two, it is expensive. It is not getting any more affordable. I owned a home here, and even with locking in my mortgage rate and everything, my mortgage went up a couple $100 every single year because of the fact, well, not my mortgage. When I'm talking about principal and interest, I'm talking about the actual property taxes, which made my monthly mortgage payments in total continuously go up every single year. So it really didn't matter, because if it's like if you lock in a home and you're paying, let's say, $2,100, and then the next year it's $2,400, and then the next year it's $2,700, and blah blah blah, it just has you living in fear that you can't afford your own house one day. And it got to the point where I was getting super frustrated, because I started thinking to myself, is this worth it? Like, you have to start asking yourself if it's worth it. Now, yes, I could have got a roommate, and so on, but honestly, that's not what I wanted to do. I've always felt like if I had to go get a roommate, especially because I'm building my business and I need to cut down my expenses, if I feel like I'm going to get a roommate, I'm moving back in with my mother, like, at that point, because I don't feel comfortable staying with a stranger. But that is just me. That is not me judging people with roommates or any of that sort, because I've told multiple of my friends to go get a roommate, but their situations are different. Had most of them either A, have a good relationship with their parents, which that is not guaranteed with everybody, B, live in the same city and state as their parents, then I would have threw out that option. But if you don't live in the same city as your parents, and don't or don't have a good relationship with your parents, regardless of where they live, then yes, I would recommend getting a roommate when you feel like you can't afford your cost of living, right? So that was my thing, because at this given point, I was close to paying $2,800 for a 2-bedroom in a part of Fort Lauderdale that wasn't like even stellar. It's not like it was downtown. It's not like it was even maybe minutes from downtown. It was 20 minutes from downtown. Like, it wasn't, it was cool in the beginning when I bought the house, but it wasn't mind-blowing. That's not including that I had to do the upkeep and all that other stuff. Now, when I ended up renting out my house and checking out Houston, because my mother wanted to move there, I moved in with her first, and I ended up buying a duplex. That duplex was a much better deal than whatever I've ever had in Miami, or Fort Lauderdale. Number one, it's a new construction duplex, and it's 10 minutes from downtown, and it was $480. And so when the mortgage came up at the rate that I was locked in at, it made sense, because even with renting them out, it makes sense. You know, when I Airbnb'd it, it makes sense. Like, a lot of things make sense. The cost of living makes sense down there. Another thing I love about Houston is that even though it's not a prominent tech scene, it is a growing tech scene. I was here in Miami when Miami was not a tech city. I remember when I was going to actually move out of Miami right after college, because I felt like I wasn't going to have a good chance with getting a tech role in Florida, South Florida. And boy, did things change during COVID, because a lot of the companies in California were looking to size their companies as well as decrease their costs for offices. So they ended up leaving Silicon Valley and coming to Miami, started opening offices in Brickell, downtown, Wynwood Art District, and in the surrounding areas. Because the cost per square footage down here is significantly cheaper than California, as you can imagine. And then other companies ended up doing the same thing, coming down from Boston, coming down from New York. It's like Miami was this melting pot for tech founders to come down here, move down here, on top of the fact that the quality of living is different. Now, let's talk quality of living. The quality of living and the cost of living are two different things, but they can overlap with each other. Quality-wise, you have the beaches, you have good food, there's a lot of culture down here, especially in the Caribbean culture. You can try so many different kinds of foods. I enjoyed being down here because I got to tap in with my Caribbean culture, which I never really tapped in with when I lived up north. So I did appreciate it. It brought value to my life, to listening and hearing stories about my own culture. It was nice. Quality, though. I can't say that I was a fan of the people, but I would say that I enjoyed, the weather. I enjoyed going out. I enjoyed spending my early 20s in Miami. I had a ball. I met a lot of, aspiring and really successful entrepreneurs as well. Tons of millionaires, billionaire. I met my first billionaire here in Miami. Loved being on the boats, still enjoy it even when I do have time. When I'm out here, I do love being in the water. So I can admit that the quality was something I really loved. But when you sit and think about it, I live in Texas, and while we don't have that kind of stuff, I could always just fly to Mexico. When I told my friends, that's the only thing I miss, I was like, but I don't miss Miami, but I miss these things. And they were like, well, then, do you see yourself moving back? I'm like, no, I can just literally get a cheap spot in Mexico. Living in Texas is so cheap in comparison that I can have a home in Texas and have a little apartment in Mexico. You don't have to overdo it. I could even just have a short-term Airbnb in Mexico and my mortgage, and it still wouldn't amount to what I was spending here in Miami. So that's that. And then also, I fell out of love with it. I was in love with Florida in general, the whole state, when I was ready to leave Delaware. I grew up in Delaware and Philly, and when you grow up in that area, you just can't wait to get out. For those who wanted to stay that actually grew up there, I don't think we'll ever match perspectives on that, because I don't love, or even aspire to stay in Delaware, Philly, Jersey. It's not something I really care about. I'll show love to the city when I'm visiting, but it's not like, oh, I gotta move back and do, no. I was so excited to move to a sunny city that had opportunities, with also the ability to get to know different cultures, see different things, learn different things. It was crazy culture shock moving down here from living up north, right? But I fell out of love with it. I think in my 6th or 7th year here, I was starting to get over it. I was starting to see the same people at the places that I enjoyed going to, even when I was trying different things. And I think that's normal when you just are somewhere for so long. And it'll be the same thing even with networking. I didn't even feel like my network was getting expanded anymore at some point. And again, this is stuff that happens when you live somewhere for a long period of time, and I'm very aware that this can happen while living in Houston. But it was just so many things in my face where it was like, it's time for something new. It almost felt like every day was the same, even when I tried to switch it up. So that bothered me, because I was like, well, this is starting to bore me. But then I'm spending so much money living here that I don't even get to have the opportunity to go elsewhere a lot. Not as much as I wanted to. So I had to make up a plan. So I decided to leave, and I decided on Texas. I already had visited several times. I already had been to Houston several times, checked out Dallas, checked out Austin. And Austin is a beautiful city, by the way. I love Austin. I can see myself in Austin too. But as far as the diversity part, Houston got it. As far as the cost of living, Houston got it. As far as it still being fun and exciting, Houston got it. Being around family, Houston got it. Like, there was just so many checks that it was like, this is at least a good spot to check out next. Now, people always ask, well, then if you moved out of Miami, why do you have to visit so often? So I visit here because we started GEM here. This idea came in mind when I lived in Miami. So we started the platform here, we popped it off here. So we have a strong community here, and I want to continue building this community until I'm at the point where somebody else can be building the community for me. It is not in my best interest to pay somebody to build a community that I should be building this early in my business. We have about 20,000 creators on the platform globally, but the majority of our creators and gigs are posted here. The majority of transactions are done here. So I do not mind coming here once in a while, which tends to be sometimes once a month, once every other month. It's starting to become once a quarter. It just depends on the time of the year. But I do not mind coming here to build community because this is where I started it. I also am going to be frequently traveling to New York. We also are going to frequently have events in Houston. So it's not like just a Miami thing. It's us growing our community, for creatives to be able to ask us about the features, for them to ask about any questions that they have, really, and educate them, not just on the platform, but just on their own businesses, and take a deeper look on what their pain points are and how we can continue to solve it. On the other side of it, because I built a marketplace, it's important for me to connect with the event producers who also utilize the platform, the talent managers, the influencer marketing managers. It's important to connect with them and also rediscover and remind them of their pain points so they continue trusting our platform and continue booking through the app and referring other people to utilize our platform. So I say that to say that I could have my own personal opinion about living here, but doing business here is a whole different game. I can continue doing business here in Miami. I also believe that having a business and or networking in Miami and getting your brand out here is also helping it get out globally because people come from all over the place. So if there's a person in Miami that's on the app that moved from New York, well, now they might let their New York network know about the app. If there's a producer that has events in Miami, but they might live elsewhere, they might tell their other event producer friend, hey, this is how I book talent in Miami while I'm here in, let's say, DC. You should check it out too, because now I don't have to worry about booking what I need for my events or booking what I need for my campaigns or whatever it may be, because I have this platform. So again, I'm here because I continue building community. When I look at places like this, it reminds me of when I first came up with the idea, because I remember that it was like my top goal to live in one of these buildings one day. And I remember saying, I'm going to live in one of these buildings one day because I'm going to blow up. I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know. But I do know that this is where I'm going to live. And it's interesting because that's obviously not my goal anymore, but it still is my goal for me to blow up, right? But the focus is more on the platform blowing up. As I'm sitting here and I'm building my personal brand as well as continuing to build the platform, it is so important to know that my goals didn't really change, the plan just did. So you right now could be in, I don't know, you could be in New York right now, you could be in LA right now, you could be in San Francisco, you could be in Ohio watching this, you could be wherever. Don't be upset if the plan changes or if you feel like changing the plan, because you might still have the same goal or similar goals. I don't care about that condo no more. I mean, literally it was that condo in Midtown, because right now I'm heading to my hotel. It was that exact condo because I said I wanted to live not directly in downtown, but I wanted to live in Midtown, be in a walkable area, and yeah, just live my best life. And now I couldn't even imagine myself moving to a condo right now. Like now I'm over here thinking about what life is going to look like when I step into my 30s. What's life going to look like when I want to have kids one day, get married? Like, I'm thinking about the future. I'm not thinking about just the now. So it's crazy how things can change, and how what else comes with that when that little thing changes. Because my idea was being in a condo, and that was it, living a bachelorette, I guess, kind of life. But I just can't imagine that. And I guess that brings me to my other reason and last reason why I don't want to live in Miami is because I don't want to raise a family here. I don't. From the education system, as someone who went to 2 colleges out here, by the way, actually 3. I went to a school in Central Florida first for 1 year, Bethune-Cookman. Then I went to St. Thomas University, which was not a good school, to be honest. And then I graduated from Nova Southeastern. Now that's a good school. That's in Davie, Florida, which is basically Fort Lauderdale. That was a good school. Can't talk down on them. Now, in regards to the educational system, like high schools and stuff, they're not impressing me. And even before high school, it's just the school system down here, period, it's just whack. I also don't care to bring or raise my child here. I honestly wouldn't mind living in like the suburbs of Houston, a quiet area with really good schools, really good families, and just raising them out there. I think I want what I somewhat also had as a kid. Like, yeah, I didn't live in like the rich areas in the suburbs exactly, but my parents were on to something moving to Delaware because they put me in a state where I didn't have to worry about all the distractions around me. Like all I could do was focus on what I wanted to do. And I appreciate that. And I would want the same. Like, we lived near a nearby city, and I kept going to Philly, for example, because my father had always lived there. But school was in Delaware. My focus was basketball. Like, I knew my mission. I knew what I needed to do. Like, but I just don't, it's just too distracting down here. And if it distracts me, an adult, I can't even be mad if my child in the future ends up being distracted. So I just don't want that to be a distraction. Could be somewhere we come for like some vacations every now and again when they get older. But I don't really care to raise a child here, which is why I really, really, really strongly never would care to move back here. But it's always a pleasant visit. Such a beautiful day. Anyways, I'm gonna catch y'all later at the event. Get some B-roll and stuff like that, and we'll wrap this up. What is up, y'all? I am back in Miami again, and I'm here today because we have a partnered event with Hip House Fest, which is Miami's first, and to my knowledge only, climate action festival that's coming at the end of this year. And Gem Social is one of the media sponsors, meaning that when they're looking for like photographers, media gigs, videographers for the festival, They'll be sourcing through Gem Social. So I'm really excited because I am going to be moderating the gig. I am losing my mind today, y'all, because I just got off the flight and the sun is beaming my eye. But I will be moderating the panel tonight with Aaron Jordan, who is the founder and festival producer for Hip House Fest. I'll be asking him questions about what exactly Hip House is, why did he bring this to Miami, considering that he's coming from Louisville, what's his expectations, you know, his conversations with locals in Miami, all the way down to political people in Miami, like the mayor, and just what feedback he's received as far as this being a climate-focused festival. So I think that's so different. I love when people push boundaries, genuinely. Like, I cannot express how important it is to be around founders, to be around partners, sponsors that really push boundaries in their brand, because that's something that Gem does in ours. People constantly tell us, we don't see this working, it's not a big enough market, whatever it may be. But yeah, everybody needs a creator, so it cracks me up on how it's not a big enough market, but I digress. The point is, if you're a founder and you're listening to this, push boundaries. If you're an artist and you're listening to this, push your boundaries. Like, push your creative boundaries, push your business boundaries. Like, you could always do better, you could always go farther. There's an audience out there that's waiting to just see your brand, you know? So I'm excited. I believe that this also will allow us to start getting in with the other festival producers, because one festival producer ends up knowing other event organizers some way, somehow, and festivals provide multiple gigs. So we always try to go for those brands that don't need like one or two people once in a while. Like that, we're looking for those festivals that, like, hey, you know what, we actually need to hire like 50 people right now. So we're just constantly looking to grow, and I'm excited to be a part of this, and I'm excited to be here in Miami. Now, someone did ask me the other day, why did you move out of Miami? Like, what was the point? It's already a tech scene. Houston's not a tech city, blah, blah, blah. And I have to be quite honest. It wasn't about being in a tech city. Like, we're well aware that this thing is just going all over the place. I'm well aware that Houston is not this big tech city. You know, it's very much an oil and gas city. Waiting for my Uber, y'all. Might have to take this in the car. So I think I'll get into my reasoning about why I moved out of Miami in the car, because my Uber is pulling up. Well, my Lyft. All right, y'all. So I'm getting ready to head on out to the event for later. I'm debating if I want to keep the camera here and just take some footage on my phone, because I really don't want to do I just don't want to risk losing this camera, and I'm pretty sure we'll get some B-roll in general. It might not be as high quality as the Osmo Pocket, but I really just want to protect my investment. Do y'all know that I ended up, it's not funny, but I ended up leaving my camera in San Francisco during Tech Week. So just from rushing and stuff. And even though I'm not in a rush right now, I don't know what the rest of the evening has for me. I could very well meet some people and then have to go somewhere else. So I'm just trying to think my best option right now. And I think it's just leaving this at the hotel in the room. But I'm checked in, I laid down for a little bit, and yep, fit check. Rocking some green today. I am gonna head over to Brickell. I'm thinking about taking the bus. Some of my friends have told me they've been taking public transportation down here, and it was only $2 to get downtown. So I don't know, I might do it. So like I said, I might just film some stuff on my, I think I'm gonna film some stuff just on my phone and go from there. But I'll check back in with y'all anyways and let y'all know how the event went.